This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Wait a second. And he shows up, and I didn't think he was going to.
Yeah.
What is going? Where are you, Cheech?
What is it?
Where are you at?
I'm gonna play some video games. Try to. Got a bunch of quarters.
Oh my gosh.
Fun begin.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess
Cheech.
it's like
You showed up at the exact right time going live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. My name is Brad Shaw, aka the Monster Truck Canucker, and we are looking live at Dan Chichagash, probably in a Chuck E. Cheese's or something.
It's called Pizza Ranch.
Pizza Ranch, okay. Where are you? You're still in Montana. Where in Montana are you at, bud?
We're in Butte, Montana. Yeah.
Ooh, that looks good. Do you guys have a show this weekend?
No, we have a car crush dealership deal.
Okay. Oh.
We're interviewing Kurt Kramer. Kurt, you're on the podcast. I showed him around the Chuck E. Cheese thing, and it wasn't really cool.
Well,
what's up?
We also have our other guest here, Patrick, so we'll get to him in a second here.
All right.
But how's everything going in Montana there, boys? How's the weekends been?
It was bad.
I saw it was a bit muddy for you guys.
It was terrible. It was terrible muddy. Hailed.
Muddy mess.
Lightning strikes a mile down the road. Wasn't a fun time. Mud all the way up to my knees. It was terrible.
Well, that shouldn't be too hard to get mud up to your knees.
What's up with your voice?
What do I have my normal mic on? Yeah, I
On
have
my
my
phone,
normal.
On my phone, it sounds like a cartoonish voice.
Really?
Yeah. Terrible.
But where's the car crush and stuff this weekend? So if people are around in Montana to come check you guys out.
It's Butte Dodge, Butte. And we have a display Friday, 2 car crushes on Saturday, 2 o'clock and at 3 o'clock.
And is the ride truck there as well? Or is it just car crush?
Just car crush.
Okay, and which trucks are going to be there? Just the one?
Just ammunition.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Since you're here and you know our guest as well, you might as well bring him in. Cheech, why don't you introduce our guest?
So, our guest, I thought it was pretty cool to introduce some of these guys, the behind the scenes people, the crew guys, the awesome guys that work on these trucks. Well, this guy, I worked with Monster Jam. He was Nicole Johnson, ScoobyDoo's crew chief. He had done other trucks too. His name is Patrick Wilson. So I screw up his name probably. But
How's it going, Patrick?
Pat?
You're fine. How's it going, guys?
Nice background. I like it.
Thanks.
Well, it's kind of a surprise
Brad,
because I didn't expect Cheech to be here at all. I thought he wasn't gonna be here, so it's a surprise.
I was trying to go and play some video games, but that didn't help out anything.
You're hilarious.
So let's get into it. So we normally start off with kind of your background and your history of how you got in the sport. So how did you discover monster trucks? How did you get into it, and eventually work your way up to being a crew guy or crew chief in Monster Jam?
Yeah, I went to the Silverdome when I was like 12. Lyle Hancock, Blue Thunder. It was either Lyle Hancock and Blue Thunder or Tony Farrell, one of the two. And he hit this bus, did this really cool wheelie that rocked back and forth, and then like spun up and like almost went into all the way into the stands. And I, as a kid, I was like hooked. That was it. It was hook, line, and sinker. And and you just kind of fall for it. And then you got Scott Douglas, UTI this, got to go to UTI. So as a kid, I'm like, all right, let's go there. So I went there, met the guy in charge of like sponsorships and stuff. He got me in touch with Mike Wales, and UTI, the closest one to me was Chicago. So I went over there, and we ended up doing a Rosemont show, and that was a 5-show weekend. I believe it was Carl Van Horn. I was kind of like the parts runner for the grave digger, and then anything and everything that needed to happen. But Grinder broke an axle housing, and we were up all night, and I was just kind of like, the guy that didn't know anything, and we just kind of fixed that up, and it was fun. And then I ended up getting a job next to the shop, and I bugged Eric Schweikart every single day, every week. I wouldn't get off his back, and it's like embarrassing. I was like a super fan that it was just embarrassing now looking back. But I would go and sweep the shop, and he'd tell me to leave, and I'd be like, yeah. And I'd sweep the shop. And I remember the trucks coming in before World Finals, and I'd be like, oh my God, these guys are going to World Finals, and and I'd try to work on them, and then they'd be like, get out of the shop, you're not supposed to be doing that. And then I remember Becky McDonough, she had a Dalmatian truck. I don't even know what was going on. I don't know if she was a driver yet. She had a Dalmatian truck, and she showed me how to do the front axles on it. Like to take the axles out and redo everything and put everything back together. And that was like my introduction. And then one day out of the blue, I got a call from Susan, and she's like, hey, we want to hire you. And I just kind of quit everything, went into Feld, and just dove in with the thought that you had to be like the best mechanic, with like, you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to do any drugs, you got to be perfect, you got to be, what is it, like the Air Force Academy guy? I thought I had to be that. So I had it all lined up, like, I'm perfect, everything's great. And I show up, and there's a bunch of rednecks all drunked out, and all having a great time, normal people, like, great people. And that it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, everybody's just normal. Why did I take this so seriously? And it evolved from there.
So what trades did you have before you went to Monster Jam or Monster Trucks in general? Did you go to trade school? Did you, basically a shake curie mechanic? What was your background before doing the Monster Truck deal?
Yeah, I ended up doing, fixing my own stuff up until going to UTI. And like I said, I go to the shows all the time, and Scott Douglas would go, if you want to be a mechanic, you got to go to UTI, and literally the word from word sponsorship read. And obviously you can't have 100,000 mechanics on Monster Jam, so it was like one of those things where I just kind of took it and tried to see what I could do with it. And I remember going to, they moved it to Ford Field after the Silverdome. And I remember going to Ford Field, and I would give my resume to the drivers. I would just stand in the line, and I'd give my resume to the drivers, because I thought it was like the Academy, or like, what do you call it, Top Gun. I mean, I thought you had to be the best of the best of the best. I mean, that's what it looked like from my perspective. So I showed up with like everything I had, and it was funny because my name kept showing up in the office. Like, who is this Patrick kid? Like, why is he sweeping the floor out there? Like, why do I keep getting these resumes, mailed to me from the drivers and shit? So, like, I just kind of was there all the time. And then they eventually, I think they might have had pity on me and hired me. But
So you mentioned going to shows at the Pontiac Silverdome, which, was one of the most iconic venues in monster truck history. What was it like going to shows there? What was the atmosphere like? Because I feel like, you watch videos of it today, and it seemed just electric and just an experience all in itself.
Yeah, I was 12 years old. I'm 30 years old now. So that was, me and the math, 18 years ago. I was in the lower bowl when I first was there, and it was insane. I mean, the trucks would fire up, and the dust would go straight up, and it was like it had its own cloud in that building. And the cloud was like, you smelt it, the dust. I mean, it was everything you could think. And like some of the shows didn't have that, but I sat up in the front row. I think Avenger had some kind of a cartwheel crash next year, and he went up into the stands and might have nicked a rail or something. But I was right there. I had pictures of him right there with his helmet. There was another show at the Silverdome where Tom, I think, went up into the stands like 13 rows ahead of me. And we went every year. It was religious with us. My dad would bring all our friends, and we'd have like a whole row, So I have all these all the Crash Madness videos. It's like that was me over there. They all had the signs, And it was great. I loved it. It was like super fan 100%. And I was a kid, and it was like the coolest thing because we thought this is it. This is the best that you could ever get to right here. This is where it's at.
So let's fast forward to you get your job opportunity with Feld Monster Jam. How was it for your first time there, and who is your assigned team that you were a part of your first time, your first quarter?
Yeah, so when I was doing it, I came in right at the end of everybody goes in the trucks, the tractor trailers, and we drive across the country in the tractor trailers. They changed it to everybody had to fly to show, which was really some prima donna stuff. But I got in, and we ended up, I think it was Brian Christensen and Neil Tedesco. And that was the crew. Me, Brian Christensen, and Neil Tedesco. And we went down, well, I can remember Mobile, Alabama. And that was a great show. They had the battleship there that kind of blew my mind. And I grew up under a rock at 8 Mile and Van Dyke, right at the border of Detroit. I wasn't allowed to go left or right, one house, gunshots in the backyard type of thing. A little bit sheltered. So when I got on the road, and that's an understatement, I got out on the road, it was like insane. And I remember that show, I mean, to his credit, Brian, I remember the mag popped on whether it was the Monster Mutt Dalmatian truck or the grinder truck, and he got it changed out like between racing and freestyle, which is like when you have a 4-truck show, it's like no time at all. And he pulled the mag out, put a new one in, and he had it all figured out, and we all got high fives. I remember that was a big thing. It was exciting. And I remember him yelling at me. He's like, go to this drawer in this trailer, go third drawer down on the left. Don't get the 24, get the 12 volt. It's like when you're a parts runner, if you get the wrong part, like it's on you. But that was fun. And then we went over to Texas, Pablo Huffaker's town, I remember, and that was kind of cool. That was the first time I got to drive a truck into the trailer, and I was sweating bullets on that one. But it was fun. I mean, I remember even the more fun of it was on the way, because we stopped at New Orleans on the way to the Texas show, and we did like a little detour south of New Orleans, and we went to Bourbon Street, and that was wild. Brian's like, I'm gonna show you the world a little bit. So it was fun. It was like, well, let's go and check out the bars. So we go to the bars. We go each and every bar, one bar at a time. We get one drink, and we just go up and down, bars, strip clubs, whatever you want to call them. And so we get to the point. We think, let's just go to this one. Well, that's when I learned there was such thing as like a black person bar and a white person bar. And let me tell you, it scared the shit out of me, because we walked in there and it was intimidating, because they looked at you like you don't belong here. And I was like, oh, I thought this was like America. Like, I thought we're all good here. And that was like the first time I felt like, hey, you need to like leave. It was like opening, as a crew guy, that everybody's experienced to that. Like, you come in and all of a sudden, I'm sure with you, Dan, when you like get on the road, they're like, we're going out for tonight. And you just like, what are we going to do? Like, did you have one of those that you remember coming out in the first time?
What was it, Patrick?
Did you have one of those experiences when you had to go out for the first time with your crew, and then they kind of,
No, My experience when I was with the Hot Wheels and Dalmatian crew was just basically get done with work, go to the hotel and chill. It wasn't really. I didn't think they really liked me um, until I was with Woos and Cole, and then we started hanging out with Adam and Chad, and then the fun began. A lot of pranks, a lot of joking around, getting told not to open the door if it's knocking in the middle of the night. Most of the time, it would have been Cole with one leg hopping and beating up Woos, and then he leaves, and then that's about it. Just a random attack. Um, then and Woos is telling me to not answer the door, and I answer the door, and you're pop 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 pop, pop. Open the bag of Doritos, dump on them, leave, and then the rest of it is history. So.
I remember a story of Cole. I wasn't there specifically, but I was in the city. He was going up an elevator and he put his leg on backwards, and some people came in and freaked him out, and that always made me laugh thinking about that. Just like what a to have a sense of humor, you know.
But yeah, that was a pretty intense. That was a pretty fun year. So talk about these pit bikes.
Oh, dude. Man, there was a point with the trucks where, the politics became more of the job than it was just fixing trucks. Because to me, I got to that point where I was like, it's a truck. You're going to break the same stuff every week, whatever. You only can fix so much. It's all going to break. It's all the same. It's like, okay, I've got to that point where it's like boring almost. And now it's almost a pain because there's so many politics, which is hard to explain. I mean, Dan, you kind of understand it. The politics involved, and it's so weird how like one side of the shop will be buddies and this side of the shop will be buddies, and then you'll have the rear end guy and the shock guy, and you want to get your stuff done, and they're like, well, we don't like you. You go to the bottom of the list, that kind of stuff. But I ended up getting into pit bikes because I just got tired of that, and I get my truck done, and I wasn't supposed to do any of this, but I would go on Craigslist while Craigslist was a thing. I think that went away not too far after, but I would go and look for pit bikes that were within a few $100, something that I can swing. And I would go, hey, you guys like Monster Jam? I'd get them to a price that would be acceptable to the amount of tickets, right? And I'd say, oh, yeah, we love Monster Jam. It's like, they're coming to town. And they're like, yeah. I go, well, how about this? You got any kids? I'm like, yeah, we got 4 kids. Sweet. I'll get you 6 tickets, autograph cards. You can meet the driver. Just give me your pit bike. And every time on the dime, they would go, sold. And I did that so many places. I don't even care. I was basically selling Monster Jam because these people couldn't afford to go because they were lower income and all these weird situations, but they absolutely loved the show. And, I got faith in humanity. So it's like, these people are great people. I go out and see them and they're just like, yeah, man, we love Monster Jam. And I know you're probably not supposed to do that, but you know what? It was taking something that I had the ability to do, and it was almost like, here you go. Because they ended up loving it. Every single one of them were just blown away out of the water, just had the best time of their life. They got to see the driver. They all got autograph cards. They all got to see, like Dennis would walk in the trailer because we were crewed with Dennis and Nicole. And then it would be like, they would just be like, oh, I don't got to wait in line for this. I'd be like, here, grab something, sign this. Like, and I didn't even know these people. I was like, these people are just great. They like mini bikes. They like trucks, my kind of people, especially when you don't have family on the road. Everybody you meet that's a friend is family. I mean, I think everybody kind of gets that. But, yeah, I mean, even in Vegas is when everything came to a head. I ended up having 3 pit bikes. One I made from absolute scrap, welded metal together, all these weird Albuquerque, New Mexico, a couple parts there, a couple parts here. And Mike Wales, I was in Vegas, and we got, in Vegas, the pit is so far away from the field. So I was bringing all the stuff from the trailer, like, rags and stuff like that. I'd bring it to the trailer, to the truck, Well, I ended up drag racing Dakota Coolman. He was on my team. He had a bike and I had a bike, and we were drag racing on the back side of where the pit area was. And we drove right by the car full of everybody important. I think Mike Wales, it probably had Eric in it. I mean, maybe Bill Easterly. I don't know. I got yelled at for it pretty good. And he said, anything motorized for the rest of the weekend, you're not allowed to touch. So put everything away. And if I see you on a, it was like, you get this right here. No more. But it was like, I love Nicole. Okay. She's awesome. But she goes out, rips the front end out. Okay. Let's put the new front end in. Goes out, rips the back end out. Okay. That sucks. Let's put the back end in. Like the diff, the shocks, the four links, the drive line. There's a point as a crew chief that you break down mentally. You're like, how? We don't have any more parts left. Like, I don't know what to do here. So I would break down and I'd just be like, we cannot fix the truck anymore. So I would just kind of throw my hat down and just be like, this is it. We can't fix it. So I'm just going to go work on this pit bike over here. And, when you want me to do something, or if there's something for me to do, give me a holler. So I used to do that.
So you mentioned, being in the same trailer as Dennis, and, obviously you grew up watching him in the Silverdome and stuff like that. And, his iconic freestyles there, what was it like being in the same trailer as Dennis and stuff? Was that like, did younger you go, holy shit, this shouldn't happen?
Yeah, man, it was weird. It was super weird because there's a huge thing that's not said amongst crew guys. You're not like, it's almost like illegal to go up to the drivers as a crew guy with a book and say, sign all this stuff for me. And the guys that did that, I swear I felt bad for them because they just got hazed and bullied. And, but it's like the child inside of you dies because you're just like, I need all these autographs. I see all these legends walking around. It's like, I don't have anybody of these guys' autographs or something like that. And you're just like, oh my God. And then it's almost like, I don't want to bug the guy with what I have to say because I'm nobody. Like, but obviously he's having important conversations with, his crew chief over there about his shocks on his brand new chassis or his power steering, maybe getting a little hard on the turn. Let's try to figure that out. And maybe I wasn't there to like have the knowledge to be like, speak up and say, yeah, this is the reason, this is happening. So I would just try to pipe down, but it was really cool seeing him around. I mean, my girlfriend who came in, Kayla, at the time, I married her and we have a kid now in a house and all that. But yeah, that was wild. She came in and he walked in the trailer and she's like hitting my side like, that's Dennis. And I was like, yeah, shut up. Don't say anything. Just don't ask him to do anything. Just. And then there was one time I think Tom came in after Dennis because they were hanging out. And it might have been in Miami, or it was either Miami or Orlando. And we were in the parking lot and he came in and then either Tom came in or I'm not sure, or it was like Ryan. And Ryan was her favorite driver. She was like white as a ghost. Like she couldn't breathe. And I was like, because we get used to this at time to time, eating with these guys at lunch and stuff. And I was like, babe, just calm down. You're going to embarrass me.
That's me. I remember I went to a NHRA drag race in 2005 in Bristol, and I'm the same age as you. And so like, cause I grew up watching NHRA drag racing, John Force is my hero. And it's raining all day. I don't get to see any nitro cars run. And I'm sitting in the cold, wet pavement in front of his pit stall, hoping to meet him. Yeah. I remember I see him walk up and he's talking with Austin Coyle of all people. This is when Austin Coyle was still his crew chief. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, it's that moment. And that just brings me to a point where like, I've heard of stories of, and trust me, I love Monster Jam. I love any monster truck related company,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hate the fact that people are looked down upon because they're fans,
I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what I could do to change that. I don't think there is anything, because if you come in, yeah, you are harassed if you ask for a signature. If you ask for like can I ask you about that show back in 2002 when you hit that bus and you spun around, I mean, trust me, my heart was broken when I heard what happened to Tony Farrell. I was like, that is such a tragedy, because I never got to meet him. I never got to like say hi or, I didn't get to know him,
Yeah.
but I always wanted to. And that was really just unfortunate, what happened. But either way, it's just like, we all have these things that we bring to monster trucks that monster trucks never will be. And our expectations exceed the reality. And I believe that I wish it was different and there was a way to mold that in. But, there was a lot of people that didn't like me. I mean, I didn't fit in any way throughout the entire process. Just because it might have been just because I was that guy who thought I had to be, the Top Gun, straight as an arrow, and that's just not what you need to do. It just that was not it.
I personally think the fans that eventually start working in the sport, I just don't like the fact that they get looked down upon. We're all fans. It doesn't matter if people want to hide the fact that they're a fan. We're all fans no matter what. That's why we're in this industry. I remember I was at the Renegade Monster Truck Tour show in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania that I got flown out to. I'm standing there, all of a sudden I look next to me, I'm like, holy crap, that's Tim Mente. I'm seeing people that I've watched, Corey Schneider, Jay Snyder, and even doing stuff with Monster Truck Throwdown, going to the shows in Edmonton. I'm like, talking with Don Cretan and everybody. I'm like, the fact that certain people in the industry look down upon those that are fans that work in the industry, it's absurd to me because, like I said, we're all fans. I know that if I work a show, let's say if I'm like club help or if I'm, the couple times I've been able to run the RII and stuff like that, I know in my mind that, when the show starts, that the fan of the fan part of me is turned way low. I can still be a fan. I can still like mark out for big moments, but you have a job to do.
Yeah.
Right. And people I'm basically, you know what I'm saying?
It's passion, and that passion is what fuels you through. And I think what happened with me, that I just got burned out, and there was a lot going on when I ended up leaving that I just didn't have patience for, and I could have stayed if I wanted to. I chose not to, but there was stuff like that passion. I didn't know how to direct it in a lot of sense. So like my first big show, that was my first truck that I was ever like, hey, you're a crew chief, go do crew chief stuff. They flew me out to Path of Destruction, Gothenburg, Sweden. And I mean, I was just on cloud nine, and I almost felt like I was like getting season tickets. It was kind of sad, but I thought I was ready, but you don't know the knowledge you don't know. And I told Eric Schweikart, I'm ready. I think I can handle this. And you don't know what you don't know. And, I get out there, we take the trucks out of the containers, Europe, and we put the big tires on. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, what have I gotten myself into? Okay, China tires. And let me tell you, I had the worst. They were like, this kid's nothing. We're going to give him the piece that should have been retired back in the day. And what's even scarier is that, some new driver who really didn't know what was going on. I forgot her name. Sorry. Either way, it was like, what do the tire pressure got to be? Is that like 13, 15? I don't want that too much. How do I set shocks? Oh my gosh, I never figured this out. I got to figure out how to set these shocks. So I get the rundown from, what's his name? He drove Monster Energy for a while as a crew guy.
Cody Saucier.
Cody. I go to Cody, and I think I asked him a couple questions, and he gave me great advice. There's a couple of Cole Menard. I think I might have asked him a couple questions. Just picking everybody's brain to get the piece of information I needed. It was so sad that I did this to myself. And anyway, Dan Evans, he's like, get those shocks set. So I'm like, all right. I get up there, I run them all the way in, and I turn them out 2 turns. Run them all the way in the back, turn them out 3 turns. What a mistake that is. As a crew chief, if you know anything about monster trucks, what a disaster, right? So she goes out there, newer driver. She goes out. I think she hit the first hit real hard, and I didn't know what I was looking at, So I everybody else knew what was going on. I didn't know. Second hit, it had to have hurt her at some point, and she went end over end. And somebody told me that she got out of the throttle, which allowed it to go that way. Totally my fault either way, because it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me. Yeah. That first hit. So the shocks were messed up. And at that point, when a truck rolls on a stadium floor and there's all these fans, 60,000, whatever it is, as a new kid, oh, that's my job? I got to go down there? Okay. So you get from the stands and run out into the field. That's terrifying in general. But to get down there and, assess the situation and what needs to get done. Let's get this truck off the floor. Let's start fixing it. It's Europe. All the parts are in a container. What container do I go to? It's like all the lessons learned in that show was like an absolute V funnel of just information. And that's when the guy, his name's Fred Hummel. Great guy. But I think that's when he absolutely hated my guts because he ended up having to help more than he ever needed to. And he was just like, this kid doesn't know what the heck he's doing, and if you've ever met Fred, that's not a good thing. So I've always felt bad. And I remember being at the hotel later that night and we're all at the bar and I went up to him and I just was like, Fred, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. And he just looked at me like, you stupid fan, except a little bit more worse than that. And it was just like, you sit back and you start to realize this is why everybody hates fans, because they're so excited. They make mistakes, little mistakes, but the little mistakes are huge because the Monster Mutt was the top seller in Europe of merchandise, from what I was told. And if that truck didn't make it out into freestyle, they lost a percentage of, follow the money, right? Yeah. And that big V comes down to me on my mistake of saying I was ready. And, that's just, it happened. I can't change that. And, that was a mistake. But you start to understand why everybody hates fans. And it's like, okay, we all make mistakes and we think we know what we know, but when we don't know it and you're in a foreign show like that, I mean, it's just like, wow, that sucks. Okay, let's never do that again. And it never happened again.
Do you think that mentality has changed throughout the years, though? With the influx of fans that have become drivers. Look at Tyler Menninga, a lifelong fan turned into being a driver.
Yeah,
Elvis
cool.
Lainez.
That was super cool seeing that happen.
Do you think that's the same kind of feeling today as it was back then?
I don't think it went away. I don't think it'll ever go away because of the people that are in Monster Jam. Their career following, like, they're not going anywhere. Like, there are certain peoples that are in charge that they're not going anywhere. This is their career. They don't plan on leaving. I mean, now this whole pandemic, they might have been, let go, and things might change in the future here when we get new blood in and we get new people with new thoughts, and let's try to calm down. But like the politics in it, once I did that bad thing, that rumor spread like wildfire. Now, that same tour, we went to Holland. Trying to think of the stadium name. It was somewhere in Holland. And Neil Elliott was the driver of the Monster Mutt. Now, I don't know if that driver got hurt. She didn't want to do that show. But he ended up winning Wheelie of the Year at that show with the truck I was on. That had probably nothing to do with him. Neil Elliott is like one of the most talented people I've ever seen behind a wheel. Absolutely shocked and awed to be anything to do with him, right? Yeah. So it was C24. I mean, that's just the saddest of chassis. Oh,
hey guys. Yeah, I got my phone charged on, so I was like, got 2%. I got kicked out.
Oh man. But
I'm on now.
I was gonna mention, I respect what you guys do, because I've been able to work on a few trucks throughout the years, and you guys go through a lot, man. I respect everything that you guys do, because I remember having to rebuild shocks multiple times on a weekend. I'm just like, this is insane how you guys could just do this all the time and do it like fast.
Oh, Daniel Crawford, I think is his name. Let me tell you what, he made me feel like I was not doing enough. I mean, obviously he had Dennis's truck, but when I tell you what, they had shock issues. It was a new chassis they were learning. I was in the back seat doing ScoobyDoo stuff, not important things over here, right? And I saw him take those shocks off week in, week out. Friday, whatever, they go in, and then next week, let's change it up. Next week, let's change it up. And they had all these like secret packages of shocks they were trying, and I was just blown away. I was like, how do you do this to yourself every single week? Take all the shocks apart, put them all back together. It's not just like nut and bolt. Let's see what's broke, let's replace it. It's like, we're improving the truck. We're gonna take it apart. We're gonna make it way better than it was last week. And sometimes it worked good, and sometimes it did not work good. And I was just like, hats off to Daniel Crawford and what's his name? He's a big lumberjack is what I remember him as. One of the coolest dudes
Snacks?
I rode with. What's that?
Was his name Snacks? Or was that
he was a lumberjack. But
or was that
Tyson? Was it Tyson?
Tyson?
Yeah, we were on the road with him. He's pure muscle. That guy just lifts up a knuckle and throws it. And you're just like, here, take it. He's a cool dude to be on the road with, too.
Nice. I don't know what questions are asked. So
we were just talking about, fans in the sport and stuff like that become crew guys and stuff like that, and everything like that. So that's what we were just on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
You were talking about how you get harassed for being a fan. Dennis walks into your trailer. Hey, can I have an autograph? The guy next to you, will you just shut up? Get over there. Go wipe the floor. That happened all the time.
yeah, I hear you on that one. So how did you get connected with the Scooby-Doo identity and go with Nicole Johnson?
It's a sad story. Like I said earlier, I love Nicole. She's the best. So many good memories with her. But I was originally going to go with Gravedigger with Chad Tingler. And you know how they choose the crews every week or every year. And nobody knows where they're going. And I remember, Dustin Brown came up to me. And he goes, all right, what do you think about doing Scooby-Doo, with Nicole Johnson? And I was like, I thought I was on Digger with Chad Tingler. And he goes, well, we're going to have to change it up. What do you think? And I was like, are you giving me an option or are you telling me? And he gives me you remember Dustin, he'd give you that smirk. He'd be like, I know what you're saying. You don't have to say it. So I was like, whatever. It is what it is. It still has 1,500 horsepower and, all the specs, right? It's just a different body. So I just took pride in the ears never falling off, and everyone who else had Scooby-Doo had ears falling off.
That was interesting.
I'll tell you what, dude, I made these custom mounts. They were really overly intricate. It was kind of stupid, but I took pride in that because it was like the only thing I could take pride in with. I just want the body to stay together, and because that was the thing. You'd hit a jump and the ear would fall off and everybody would get yelled at for it. It was like, it shouldn't happen, It's like, try to do your job the best you can, right?
Mm-hmm. So you and me were talking a little bit before we went on the air, and you mentioned that, you were there at the same time as Cheech. So what do you remember about Cheech coming in and, because you mentioned that you took him to Paxton with you.
Oh, Dan, I love you. You're hilarious.
Let me get this straightforward. Brad wants to find anything to do with me because of his embarrassing moment on YouTube. so that anything he could possibly feed off of anything that I did stupid or embarrassment to make this boy feel happy, because some random stranger films his Humpty Dumpty ass over a wall.
Okay, no,
what's going on?
First off, it wasn't it wasn't a random stranger. It was Elliot with Throwdown.
You said it, not me. So, yeah. So go ahead and whatever, make freaking Brad hard on and everything like that. Just go.
No, it's not that. I just kind of like, because
So anyway, we're in Paxton, right? And when you're in Paxton, you're gonna work.
Yeah.
Respect. I've never had more respect for a group of any workers in any way in my entire life. Dealerships, Ford dealerships. I mean, that crew, from the top all the way to the bottom, every time I went there, just absolutely mesmerized at the type of work, the amount of work, the quality of the work, and the leadership at Paxton. This is not me just blowing smoke. This is this is a well-oiled machine down there. And
with Mark Cole and all them.
So then my poor butt shows up. A part of that, right? I'm like, hey, I'm here to help you. And they don't need help. They just need like warm bodies. And they're like, hey, we need you to maintain this. We need you to maintain this truck. So do everything, do all the maintenance on these two trucks. So we go through, we crack check, change the oils, spark plugs. What's wrong with this one from the crew that just left last week? We're going to be taking over the next 3 weeks, and drivers are going to come in. These are the chairs you need to put in this truck, custom fit these chairs to this driver. And then this is going to be their truck to train on whatever we decide them to train on. That was the information we were given. So then we're at the new shop across the highway there. And Dan and I, it was Dan, me, and who else? Who was the third guy? Was that Phil?
No, wasn't it Ferrari?
I don't remember his name. I'll never forget this memory with you, Dan, is that I told you it was a digger chassis. It was a green chassis. I said, Dan, this is what we're going to do. I need you to put this transmission in. This is how you do it. All this, real simple. Put the plugs in, put the wires in, drop the mag. All right? Cool. I'll come back and check on you in a minute. I go do this other black chassis truck that was over here. I don't know what it was, in-house or something. So I'm done with mine. I come over, check on Dan. Dan's super proud. He's like, dude, we are set. We're going to be out of here. We're going to be getting drinks. We're going to go get the skillet cookie, the famous skillet cookie. It's going to be amazing. I'm so proud of this. And I'm looking like, what the heck is going on here? Something's wrong. And I'm looking, and I'm like, why is the transmission not flush with the back of the bell housing? I'm like, what's going on? It's not flush. Okay. And I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, the spark plug wire is wrapped around the header tube, and then it's plugged into the spark plug. And then I'm like, what's going on over here? And I'm looking, I'm like, wait, this spark plug wire is like tensioned like that to get to the one spot. So the mag's backwards. And I found a whole list of stuff, and I love you, Dan. But it was like you were tired from the day before, and you just didn't have it in you. You were just trying your best. You're giving me all you had. And he came over, and I said, how hot does this pipe get? And he goes, I bet pretty hot. It's an exhaust pipe. I was like, yeah. Well, why would you want a wire wrapped around it? He goes, yeah, that is pretty stupid. So we get the mag figured out. We get the plugs all, the wires all routed properly. So
mag, yeah.
So we try to crank it over, and it just sounded really bad, like just metal noise. We're like, what did you do? You changed the oil. You got all the oil in it. You got everything you need. Okay. All right, let's do it again. Let's just check it out. I looked over, and I pulled the transmission back, and the flywheel's on backwards. And I'm like, what's going on here? I was like, oh, my God. I'd laughed so hard with Dan on the road. It was so much fun having you around, because it was like I
have to say one thing. I think the one thing is the third guy. I remember correctly, because I remember we were working on the mag. It was C24, wasn't it? It was Great Digger 24.
Yeah, because something like that. Yeah,
it was great, and I remember doing the mag because I had another person helping me out putting the flywheel on, and I was trying to get because I was on. Now you got me memorizing this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you'll know.
I was on the hat trying to get the mag in because I'll take full responsibility of the mag mess up, but the flywheel was not me. I know that for a fact.
I just showed up and was like, "What's going on here?" Like, this is a complete disaster. But
remember the time when you and Sean introduced me to Portillos?
Oh my god!
And I opened the sandwich, and the sandwich went through the paper bag and went all over the seat.
Okay, so we fly into Chicago, and we're with Sean. And
he was with us. Remember the Delta? It was in Detroit, and the Delta, it was somewhere close. Remember, we had to rent a Lincoln Navigator or something like that because the plane went to crap.
Well, hold on. There's a couple different shows that we did, but the first one with Portillos. Portillos to me is like where you go when you die. Like, it is a great place with great people in it. I can talk all day about food. Like, the best burrito. I mean, the best hot dog, the best submarine sandwich. Anyway, that's a whole podcast right there. But we showed Dan Portillos, and he's like, I don't know what this is. And Sean's like, come on, Sean, you kidding me? We're going to Portillos right out of the airport, like straight from everything, like routed in. So he's like, order whatever you got. He's like, I don't got any money right now. He's like, well, I'm paying for it. You need to do this. So we bought him, I don't remember if that's the way it went, but
Italian beef dipped.
We got him a big beef dipped with sweet and hot peppers, large fry, large Coke. And we all got like the same thing. So we had like all this, and we're going, and he opens it up, and it's dark because it's nighttime. We're on our way to Paxton in late flight type of thing. And he's like wet. He's physically wet. He's just like, what's happening? I'm soaked in grease. Like, and Sean goes, he's like, I popped your cherry on this one. This is you needed a shower because you were like wiping your face. You're like, oh no, it's on my face. Do you got any napkins? And the napkins were covered in the grease. And you're wiping the grease napkins all over your face.
It was terrible, but it was so good. I was
in the back crying, laughing because I was happy because we got Portillos. But every single new guy went through that. That was a positive harassment moment that we are going to show you the best big beef dip in the country.
Remember we were at Paxton in 2016. I remember this clearly because we went to Josh's place for my birthday. Remember the random guy that just appeared out of nowhere on my birthday, and you started playing pool, and then that meth head woman came out of nowhere and called us all racist because we asked them to leave, and then Jackson told me, Cheech, yeah, what are you? I'm like, I'm Filipino. They're like, we're racist? And we're like, no. We just started laughing because we were playing. You were on a pool game, Patrick. You first anyone. You didn't care who. You were playing pool against anyone, and then you just started laughing and just went. Remember that green couch?
I don't want to know about that.
You just were laughing at anything that moved. You were kind of out there.
A few drinks in, you have a good time. I mean, if there's anything that can be said about Monster Jam crew guys, is that they have the high moments of the high moments, and you have low moments as well. So you balance that out by going and hanging out, and you know how to have a good time. You learn from the experienced crew guys the do's and the do-nots of the road, and that's the most valuable stuff to know. Even in my adult life past Monster Jam, going and hanging out with my family, going to the airport, getting a rental car and traveling across country, going to pits, gas stations. I mean, the knowledge learned as a crew guy for like just general life. I mean, maybe I was just under a rock my entire life, but I mean, you learn a lot of what not to do and what to do. And I just thought that, meeting people at a bar playing pool, that was fun. You'd always meet characters. You never knew what they were. You meet some guy that served on the USS Iowa back during, like, when it went out to war. You're just like, okay, you're 80 years old. You want to play pool? Like, I'll pay, man. You want to drink? Like, is there any way I could, like, make your night better? Like, you're the coolest dude ever. And then they learned that you were part of Monster Jam halfway through, and the conversation went from here up to here, and they are the happiest people in the world. and they love it. You have all the good stories. He's got good stories, and that happened every single week, every time we were on the road, every time we went out places. I mean, it was so much positive. But then, like I said, you also had those low moments, where you missed your family or you missed, your girlfriend or your wife.
I think that's like the most like the one thing that, and the reason why I bring up, whenever I know if we have a guest on that Cheech has been around is that camaraderie, because I feel like in the sport it gets, like you said, you start missing your family, you miss people, you miss being home, and it's the people that you're around on the road that kind of become your family. And that's why I like hearing stories of people that, because I know Cheech. I've known Cheech for a long time, and I've got to meet him in person. Cheech is a wonderful guy, and, that's kind of why I ask questions like that, because the camaraderie is such a huge thing in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was times that I hated his guts because I was just like, how did you do that? Why did that happen? And then it's like, you go back, you take a shower, you go get your skillet cookie and your 5 tacos for $1, and you're just like, I don't give a shit about any of that. Like, we're buddies.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
What's this skillet cookie?
Okay,
Oh.
listen, buddy. You need to do it. You need to. It's Paxton, Illinois. You owe it to yourself on a drive-through at any time in your life. To
Stagecoach.
Paxton, Illinois. There's a place called Stagecoach. It is on the northeast side towards Champaign. Oh, maybe southwest towards Champaign, but not all the way there. And you're going to want to slow down before the tracks. Let me tell you. But this skillet cookie, I mean, you're talking like this big. It's a skillet. They put a cookie on it. It's soft, doughy, like almost cooked all the way, but perfect. They put a big piece of ice cream on top and drizzle the chocolate over it. And it's magical.
And whipped cream.
It's magical.
See,
and then yeah.
I'm not a big cookie guy, but damn, that sounds good.
Dude, after you're in the sun, 110 degrees, you're working on trucks from 9 a.m. putting like third members in and shocks and engines and transmissions and you don't get, come on guys, let's hurry up. We got 20 minutes. We got to do this. We got to go out and do this practice. This is before arena tour stuff too ever went around. We were trying to figure out if arena tour stuff would even work. And I believe that was one of the times I was in Paxton was they were doing testing on the Can-Ams and all that, and they were learning that the ball joints weren't good, and they had to add supports for the roll cages of the Can-Ams, and it was kind of cool being a part of that, but it was scary because you'd see somebody you liked go out there and they'd go try to do like a jump, and it wouldn't land well, and you're like, that's not good, because you see the cage flatten, and you're just like, holy crap, they just totaled that thing. But they brought it back, and they were like, all right, we're going to stiffen this. We're going to do this. We're going to, and it was cool because Tom Mentz, that whole crew, Chuck, I believe, all those guys, they were so smart and very with it as far as like being able to be at the leading edge of that stuff. And they were right where they should have been.
We just forgot about the skillet cookie.
No, man. I'll never forget about the skillet cookie. I'll never forget about that thing.
We're going to go off topic here with monster trucks, and I kind of want to know what got your fascination with vintage war airplanes, World War II, Vietnam, World War I, nostalgia aircrafts. I mean, they're a sight to see in person, but what got you intrigued to those vehicles?
Well, I mean, anything with an engine. Since I was a kid, I was fascinated how it worked, how it ticked, how it ran, how it moved. And my dad, right before I was born, right into when I was born, I think it was like up to a few years, he was in aviation school. And he's got a couple really cool pictures of me sitting on like an old vintage aircraft right on the wing. And it was part of the school to restore this aircraft. And he's got a picture of me sitting on this vintage aircraft with my brother like in the window or something. And it was super cool, and I was just like, wow, that's cool. Where did that come from? And he's like, I had to stop school, to raise you and your brother, and, but always a fascination of his, which bled over into me, being his kid and all. And we'd go to the air shows and Blue Angels all the time over here in Michigan. We'd go to Selfridge, We would go to Yankee Air Museum. For anybody listening or anybody that ever needs, loves this stuff, go to Yankee Air Museum.
Where is that at?
That's in Belleville, Michigan. You'll be able to find it pretty easy on Google Maps. Now, the background on that is they have a hangar where they store the B-17 that flies, the B-24. They bought a Chinook. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. They bought a Huey. I actually went and flew on the Huey earlier this year. Where is it? Got a little patch or whatever. But
that's cool.
It's like a 60-year-old aircraft. They can pack it full of like 12 people, make $1,200, $100 a pop, and do like 15 flights a day to fund that museum. And I did that with my dad and my brother earlier this year or last year, and it was fantastic.
What's your favorite airplane?
Oh man, that's hard. That's so hard. I don't even know.
Propeller and jet. Let's split it.
Oh, you're making it harder. You're giving me two options, two separate things. So when you look at the jet, you got to go with the. Here I am. I'm going to mess up the name. So
I'll help you out.
It's the one right before the SR-71.
So was it the U-2? The spy plane?
It was the program. So the way the SR-71 came around is the U-2 wasn't sufficient enough.
Yeah.
And the B-52 Hustler, they got a contract to be able to get that to go to Mach 3, but they figured out that was absolutely insane because the fuselage would melt away before they were able to get there. So
are you talking about the fighter version of the SR-71?
No, this was the one before they realized they needed titanium.
Was it the YF-12?
Yes, that's the one. That's a scary aircraft.
Or the A-12. It's the Lockheed
A-12.
A-12. I just searched it up.
Like that. It was right.
It looks like a Blackbird, but it's not.
That was insane. It's almost ramjet. I wouldn't even call it. I think it was a multitude of jet and ramjet. But I mean, prop aircraft. That's hard. I think it might end up being the F-4U Corsair.
The Whistling Devil.
I probably have models of that down here. I don't even know.
The F-4U has the gull wing.
I crashed this guy not too long ago.
P-51 Mustang.
I like flying these little models. Just go in the backyard. This thing's called the Night Vapor. It just sits in. You could fly this indoors if you wanted to.
That's sweet.
Like for me, I always loved the F-4U Corsair. Just because my dad was part of it. Even though it has movie frame, I'm still fond of the F-14 Tomcat.
That's a great one.
Just because my dad was stationed at the Oceana Naval Air Station over in Virginia. It was either that or the F-4. Always thought the F-4, and I always had love for the A-6 Intruder. I don't know why, but there was a show back in Discovery Channel called Wings.
Wings, dude. That's a great show.
They had different shows like Wings over Russia, the Luftwaffe. If anyone knows what the Luftwaffe is, that's the German Air Force. Wings over Japan, stuff like that. There was different episodes, and I always loved watching
Battle
the
360. That's another good one.
Yeah. And I always watched documentaries, and I always was into, if I was fighter wise, I always was intrigued about the F-4U, the Spitfire, and the ME-162. Yeah. Just because of that, but just because of the different types of motors, engines. Obviously, Spitfire ran the Merlin, which is very popular in other forms of motorsports, not just airplanes. The big radial motors that the Corsair has, or the 17. Just in general, and I always loved going to air shows in high school and college, just because of. Or finding out that, the B-29 Fifi was going to be landing at some airport. And
I got to go into that thing. I ended up, it was like $20 or something to be able to get inside. and then crawl around and go into the cockpit and whatnot. And I thought that was pretty cool because there's only a couple of those left. There's
only two flying right now.
Yeah, they all went to scrap.
Yeah, and then you have the one called the Glacier Girl where it caught on fire on the runway in I think Greenland.
Tragic,
yeah. It was tragic, but I mean, there was
after Monster Jam. I mean, you got to have passion into something, and Monster Jam was like my entire life. Growing up, I wanted to get in there. I got in there. It's kind of crew chief for a little bit, and then it was like, all right, I'm not kicking it, and I wanted to move to Paxton to be closer to my family, and kind of an inside story is I asked them if I could move to Paxton. Everyone, important, and I let them know I wanted to move to Paxton, buy a house, and be part of that team because I saw them as the leading edge, and I always kind of I wanted to be part of it so I can grow into it. And it took them about 6 months, 5 months and 29 days, unfortunately. But that Friday, I got in touch with a good friend of mine, and I was in Paxton, still waiting for word if I can move to Paxton with, my family and live there and be a part of the team there. And while I was in Paxton, I talked to a friend back in Michigan. I kind of got fed up with a lot of stuff. And I took the rental car that we were given through Feld, and I drove back to Michigan that night, did an interview with a manager for the Suburban group in Michigan, drove back to work. I think it was 4th of July weekend or something like that. And then the next day, Tom Mentz brings me in his office, and he goes, all right, Pat, we're going to keep this between you and me. We've talked. I don't know what he said. He might have said something like, whatever. He's like, we want you to be a part of the team here. And this was shocking to me because I was just like, okay, I just stole your car and drove across, 3 states. Like, I'm thinking, oh boy, this is not a good explanation. And I was like, okay, and I'm thinking, oh crap. And I'm looking down and I'm like, all right, well, between you and me, I took the rental car this week. And I went to Michigan and interviewed for a job, and I'm going to be moving back, and I'm going to give my 2 weeks to Eric when I get back to Florida because you guys took too long to tell me that I could move here. And that was one of the biggest downfalls of Feld is that their communication, for whatever reason it was so slow that it was just like, whatever. It was too slow. 6 months to get a yes or a no. And I only asked for a yes or a no, not like it could happen, but you never know. So that's kind of how I got out of it.
I'm just going to say here, you guys talked about planes. It makes me want to get interested in planes. I've never really been into them, so now I'm kind of wanting to.
They're so cool, man. They're all it is physics, but that saying all it is physics is making it sound so easy. But it's so much fun because it's the same as working on cars and trucks, but you have to write a signature next to the bolt that you tightened. And if you didn't tighten that bolt and you got that signature, you go to jail. So that's the real difference. So, the industry-wise, you can make from $30,000 to $100,000 being a mechanic as like at a dealership. But being an aircraft mechanic, you can be at $55,000 to $120,000 to plus, depending on the type of vehicle you're working on. Obviously, you got to be like very sufficient. And my dad ended up going back to school, getting his A&P license, his airframe and power plant license, and he works for Williams International. And he works on like all sorts of stuff, $1 million engines, puts the jets together. He sees all these private contracts for Northrop Grumman, all the really cool companies that are beneath the military that provide the jet engines for cruise missiles. He gets to see that stuff, and it blows my mind. He's like, I can't show you any of it. It drives me nuts. And he's just like, these things are this big, but they produce the amount of thrust to throw like a package of C4 across the continent. It's just like, he's like, it blows my mind. he's like, I can't even explain it. It's so cool. So, I mean,
and you're also getting your license, aren't you?
Yeah. That was something I decided to do earlier this year. I'm going to get my pilot's license through a school over here at Flint Bishop Airport, obviously next to Flint, Michigan. They provide a pilot's school. It's not that expensive. It's $500, $400 to get all your stuff to get into the school, and then like $165 a week to do a flight, and you got to do like 50 or 60 flights. And obviously you might miss one or so because, I mean, they are really expensive. But if you saved up for them, and I got a little bit of a savings, it's doable. Because it's like, I don't know if that's going to be my industry that I'm going to go into. But with Monster Jam,
be a cool hobby.
I feel with Monster Jam that I went so hard with it that I almost ruined it. Because I don't even go on ushra.com anymore. And I tell you, every single day I was checking it like stock market. I was on there like, what driver just got signed to this truck? What driver was going to this show? I got to know who's driving the Max D in Indianapolis, or whatever. But now it's just burned out. It was like a passion that got killed by being a fan and then being part of Feld. It just kind of got squashed.
But yeah, it's still a cool hobby and stuff. And I had to go because I had to go, and I had other portions of love that I wanted to do. So I'm still striving for that. But anything else, Brad?
I just wanted to ask, since both of you guys, Cheech obviously is still crewing for teams, and Patrick, you worked for Feld for quite a couple of years. Say, if somebody's on an independent team or they're just starting out with Feld or whatever, what's one piece of advice you would give to anybody new coming in?
Learn the toolbox.
What's that?
Learn the toolbox.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's important for sure. Learn where the parts are in the trailer, all that. But I would say the one piece of serious advice I would take to heart and think about with every decision you talk to your managers about, don't oversell yourself. It's that simple. Going back to Gothenburg, Sweden, through every mistake I ever made in Monster Jam, don't oversell yourself. Just because you want to do it doesn't mean you can. Yeah, it's really important not to do that because you'll go way farther by not doing that. And if you do and you mess up, you're over. You're done.
Yeah,
I think that's even just a good thing in life too.
Absolutely.
Don't sell yourself short. And that's something that I need to realize in my personal life every day. And no matter what, but especially probably for what you guys do, don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, go shoot for the top, but just don't burn yourself out. Like when I left, it's like you got to have a dream. You got to keep that dream alive. And the dream after Monster Jam was, let's get a house, a family, a dog, a kid. And I got an F-100, a 1970 F-100, restored it. It was sitting in a pile of bolts. I put it all back together, and now I got that. I beat the heck out of it every day. You can do whatever you want to do. You just got to do it. And, you're the only thing that's stopping yourself, really. Because if I can do it, and the people who know me from Monster Jam, I wasn't nothing special. I mean, I was just the normal guy doing this stuff, and I feel like I had it figured out. But the politics of, Monster Jam got to me, and I just was like, I don't want anything to do with this. And hats off to the independents. I have more respect for anybody on this planet, like people like Corey with Avenger, just the whole Avenger team, all them guys. I'm really bad with names, and it's killing me now. There's a group of guys like the Monster Truck Throwdown. I'm trying to think. They're the Michigan group over here, and Avenger's a part of them. But I see them all over Facebook doing shows in Michigan, and it's just like, I know the money's not there like it is in Feld. You can't just go out there and do backflips and roll and do all this stuff, and it's just like I know what it takes to repair those bodies, and week in and week out, the fiberglass, the welding of the axles back together to get the truck back out. I've seen a lot of weird stuff that actually works, that should work. My hat's off to those guys, and if you guys ever need any help, I'll polish your windshield for you. Don't sell myself short here.
Reach for the stars, but don't oversell
or the
yourself.
windshield. One of the two.
That's another thing I always tell people is don't oversell yourself, because, like you said, Patrick, there was a couple stories of people saying, I can do this, I can do that. And then when they did it, they're like, I don't know how to do it. And it was like, you just told us you know how to work on fiberglass.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to do fiberglass? Okay. Well, he didn't last long. So, and learn about the tools. I always say that. Learn about the toolbox, because you're not going to, if you know exactly where you're at and you know exactly what's going on, the person that's working on the vehicle can trust you for getting that part or that tool instantly. And hustle. A lot of people will take their time to teach you what you need to do. If you hustle and you bust your ass,
well, it's
just
work
trying.
ethic, right? Work ethic. We don't see that anymore. That used to be a big thing. It used to be how you got a job. And I see people come in. I work at the dealership, Randy Wise Ortonville over here at the Ford dealership. You see people get brought in. They don't have the work ethic. You're just like, where did that go? You see people come in as crew guys. You're just like, do you just want to get a paycheck? This is not the job for that. Like, no.
So as we wind down here, Patrick, is there any social media that people could find you on if they, if you ever want to ask, if somebody wants to ask a question or anything like that?
I'm on Facebook, Messenger. I'm just Patrick Welsing. I'm a ghost. I really don't do a lot of the social media. I enjoy watching you guys do your thing. I saw Dan and Phil Onos on there, and I was laughing so hard. You guys were such a great duo, because I remember both of you guys coming in, and I remember it was just cool seeing you guys. You guys kind of like grew into monster trucks, and you're both doing it. And I'm just like, I'm so happy for you guys. And, but I don't really do social media. If anybody has a question for me or whatever, just find me. I'm just some guy now. That's kind of what I wanted. And, out of the spotlight, but,
Here's what it is.
Cheese, do you have your carrier pigeons on you?
Yeah, my casual pigeons. Right now, they're back in Illinois. If you want to find me on social media, hit me up at Yellowstone, because that's where I'm going to be hanging out at. Yellowstone. I got a furry brown tractor now called a Bear. You want to send some messages. Now I'm officially knowing about Patrick. I'm 100% supportive of airmail. So if you want to send anything, go ahead and give it to Patrick. Patrick will fly to Champaign, see Michigan and Illinois. It's not that far away from each other. It's like a 5-hour drive. Well, it's going to be faster. So if you want to go faster, he'll drive by Paxton, drop that mail off. Tom will be scratching his head with a glass of Mountain Dew saying, "What's this mail doing here?" And that's mine. So I have to come over and pick it up. So we could try that. I'm going to be in a new line. I just bought the Edmund Fitzgerald. It goes through the Great Lakes. I'm going to try to get that going on. Forewarning, the ship may sink. I'm going to try to get that fixed up. So there's different types of different mail and stuff like that you guys can send to me. But I'm upgrading from pigeon to airmail through Patrick. So we're gonna be get ready to go for there. Folks, you know where to find me. Daniel TJ Gosh on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram. Once again, there is some news I have to tell you. We got Brad. I don't know if I posted it, but it is confirmed that we have a new sponsor. Justin Stories. He makes a comic book called Max Tracks. Mattis Tracks. I'm gonna screw it up, but it's a comic book that's coming out, and he sent me a copy. I need to get an address for you, Brad, so I can send that over to you.
Okay.
Or you can go on Messenger on here and get the copy so we can talk about it. But he is helping us out with the sponsorship deal, and thanks to him, through us, got the mic stand that I want with him helping out. So, yeah, I got a mic stand just like you, Brad. So now
Awesome.
that's gonna be right there also. So that helps our fun. Like I said, the money that you guys go to help us out with the podcast.
Yep.
So and that's I kind of needed. So I needed a thing so the thing doesn't cover my face like everyone talks about. Hey, I'm on my microphone. You can't see me. You know?
Everybody wants to see the panda.
You're right. And the sun's not helping matters. But also want to let anyone know if anyone's watching this and if this is get sent or anything, if you're a crew member and it not just has to be Monster Jam related, you could work for an independent team and you've had we want to hear your stories. Even with I'm a crew guy also trying to work my way up, but other people want to hear stories about everyone. If you worked for Feld, if you worked for Creedon, if you worked for Kohler, you work for the Hall brothers, Bigfoot, it doesn't matter, independent or not, we want to hear your stories. So come out of the woodwork, message us if you have a pretty cool history and a story about the tell. You're more than welcome. We'll have you on. I think this is pretty cool to talk about some of the unsung heroes of the monster truck world, the ones that are aka the fairies, the magical fairies. Remember that, Patrick? Yeah, the magical fairies that rebuilt the trucks without get back to normal. And that's what that was some companies wanted to put it as, but they changed that pretty fast when some people were upset about that. But anyway, yeah, just want to hear everyone's stories, so please message us and that'd be cool. And also give us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Spotify. Like and share, subscribe to us on Facebook and YouTube.
Yep.
Also show some love to Brad when he does his live stream, the MT Canucker.
Yep.
Show up some love in that. He'll probably give some love about this podcast too.
Always.
So much love. Go ahead, Brad.
And which I'm going to be going back on the streams. I've been going through a bit of a health thing recently, so I have sleep apnea now, so I got to get that all figured out. But you can also follow me on social media at the Monster Truck Canucker. Just my name, Bradshaw, on Facebook. Give me a follow. Give me a like. By the way, go Dodgers. I've become a baseball fan recently, so
Nice.
That's good. That's good.
But trying to branch out, besides hockey, which I hate to say this right now, it hurts me in my soul, but go Montreal Canadiens.
Ooh.
It hurts my soul being an Oilers fan, but they're the only Canadian team left right now, so I gotta cheer for them.
It's okay.
Completely swept Toronto, so I feel bad for those Toronto fans.
Are you still, Dan? Are you still a Penguins fan?
All the time.
All the time. I remember I said one thing bad about the Penguins. You lit me up for like 15 minutes. I've never seen you more passionate.
Well, because you're a Detroit Red Wing fan, and because
I'm. Oh no.
No, because you guys had that string of those awesome years. Like you guys,
Green Team stuff. That was awesome. I remember being a kid watching every one of those. That was amazing.
The only demise was time. What ruined the Red Wings was time. It wasn't anything else. It was the players were getting old. The players were getting much older, and they couldn't, play as what they were before. Time, and then they hurt themselves on picking up players. So, but still, you guys used all the players that you had for such a good. You guys are always in the playoff hunt, always having a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So
I remember seeing good hockey back then in the 90s. That was something else. I was so young, but still, it was just like, now we're building a team right now, and it's hard to watch. It's good hockey, but it's just hard to watch it grow. You're just like, man, because I grew up watching that, and now I'm like looking at this like, crap.
Trust me, I know the feeling being an Oilers fan. You look at the Oilers in the playoff series against Dallas in '97. Like, my God, we had an incredible team, even up until when we started getting the first round draft picks. But now we're just crap in the bed. But maybe we'll do a hockey episode at some point and just gripe about our teams.
Yeah, right.
How about you? How about Brad? You're feeling that your number one star wants to leave.
Hey,
you're breaking.
you know what? It's I don't blame him like the organization has really let McDavid down, and they really our defense sucks. That's one thing that we've lacked for many years. Our goaltending since we got Mike Smith has gotten a lot better, but our defense has always sucked. You look at the days when we had some like George Larocque, guys like him, and when we had players like Sam Gagner, Ryan Smith, Captain Canada. Like I'm still sad that he retired, because he was one of the best Oilers, besides Gretzky and even Mark Messier. So it's a shame. Hopefully they can figure out what they need to do to keep McDavid, and because they showed a lot of brilliance.
McDavid's going to the Seattle Kraken?
No, I don't think he's going to go to Seattle Kraken. I still think McDavid believes in the Oilers, but it's the upper management that has let them down with their choices. And even Gretzky left the management this year. Gretzky was a part of the Oilers management and he left. So that just shows Edmonton's crapping the bed with their coaching staff mainly, and they need to get defense. They need to get some heavy hitters in there, and I still think one of the best things that saved Edmonton over the last 2 years was getting James Neal. That's one of the best things that ever happened to us. But that's just my opinion, and I'll always be an Oilers fan, even though they break my heart every single year.
Hey, I'm a Lions fan, and I that's all I could say. That's all I have to say.
Hey, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, so I like the dollar ticket nights, so whatever.
But next week Cheech will be going it alone. I am not on the show next week. I have some prior arrangements, so it'll be a Cheech episode. So do you have a guest lineup for that, Cheech, or
nope?
Hey Dan, let me remember. Do you still go by Lunchbox?
Not anymore.
Oh man,
I
love that.
Disappeared after you left.
That always gets a laugh, and they're like, "Why'd you call him Lunchbox?" I was like, he's kind of short, and it's just everybody laughs on that one. But you should call Phil Norman and get him on here. That guy is, to this day, I call him all the time. He's just one of the best guys I've ever met, as far as morals, as far as just a good person and good stories. I mean, that guy, I don't even know,
That dude's a riot. I'll randomly Snapchat him, and send him something just like, "What's up, jerk?" or like something just completely outlandish, and he'll just give it right back.
Dude, I could talk to him for 4 hours on a Tuesday, like, just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he'll start talking to me about Crackle Barrel, and it'll be over. It'll be over. Like, him and I'll just go after it. The worst thing you could ever do is give me a $200 Crackle Barrel gift card, because I'll take it to my grave. You'll have to ask him. He's a funny guy.
Oh, Phildo. We had him a couple times, so it's pretty good. But like I said, if anyone's watching, doesn't matter if it's company, if it's Feld or independent, or if you have worked on a monster truck as a crew member or crew chief, holler at us. We want to hear your story. And I'll start by Phil, Phildo, then Phil Ricardo, then Patrick, and then it's cool to hear the stories about the stuff. So I'm trying to get Jackson Suits on. He's a crew chief for the Wildflower Time Flies, but he was with the Max D team for the longest time. So there was some cool stories about him, and we'll get that going.
He's on Times Flies right now?
Yeah, he's with. Wow. He's dating Calvin Raymer's daughter. So.
Whoa, that's blowing my mind. I remember crewing with him. He was our. I don't even know what he was. I don't know if he was a third guy. I think he was a third guy filling. He was a riot. That's one guy I could throw something at him, and he'd come back 10 times as hard, and I'd regret making fun of him. I swear to this day, he's got me under his nail.
Yeah.
I don't even want to bring it up, because he'll call me, and he'll just be good for him. He's a good dude.
I just messaged Philip Norman, and I said, "Hey, you just got mentioned in the episode. Do you want to know what he responds with?"
Oh, no.
Good. I hope the world knows Cheech needs to drive.
Dude, oh my God, that'd make a dream come true for me. The people I know that end up driving make me like a proud uncle or something. Like I feel like I'm just like, that a boy, you know, like I see it happen and just like, oh my God, if Dan Cheech were to drive, that would just be so cool. Not just one show, just one show. Go out there, beat the crap out of the truck. You know, we won't turn it over. Roll over a couple cars, do a couple donuts. You know, bring her back into the pits. You know, everybody gives a hug, high five. You know, go out there and cartwheel off a bus or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I don't want that.
Oh man, I just love how that's how he responds first thing.
That's so cool.
But yeah, like I said, you know, Cheech will be going at himself next week. I will not be at the episode, so go show Cheech some love. And yeah, you know, Patrick, thank you for coming on. It was great to get to know you. And
you guys are
you know,
awesome.
Thank you, Cheech, for randomly showing up, even though I thought you weren't going to with your service. So that's
I found some service.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So
he's in a porta potty, but he found the service.
No,
I'm just kidding.
But you know, want to give a quick, huge thank you to all our sponsors, the people that support us. Didn't get a chance to in the beginning. Joy Sylvester with High Octane Coffee, Nick Davis of Backshot Productions, the J Concepts crew, 6B Apparel. We got our shirts $100 a pop. Message either me or Cheech. And JB Scale Graphics, and our new one, Justin Stories, with his new comic. You know, thank you to everybody that supports us, and you know, still going strong, 6 years deep into this, man. We're not stopping anytime soon. So yeah, same time, same place next week. It'll be Dan Cheech running the show. So as we always say on the podcast here, everybody, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Peace.